Welcome to What's the TVV? I'm your host, Sue Jones. Our budget for the next fiscal year just went into effect. We thought this would be a great time to go deeper into what goes into putting our budget together and how does it get approved. To answer our questions is Deputy City Manager Jenele Davidson. Jenele, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't we begin by having you tell us a little bit about your position with the city?
Sure. I am a deputy city manager. I'm one of three, and each of us oversees a different part of the city. For me, that is human resources, finance, public works, and water.
What was your path to the city?
Well, the interesting thing about my position is that there really isn't one path to get to a deputy city manager. For me, it helped to have a lot of experience in different parts of the city. I actually started in our customer service department, which to this day is still a great point of entry for employees to join our organization. And from there, I promoted through our analyst track. So I had the opportunity to work in departments like finance, our municipal utility, VMIS, public works and water. And it eventually brought me to the city manager's office, where I started working on special projects and decided to continue my education and go back and get a master's degree in public administration. From there, I was able to obtain a position of assistant to the city manager, which got me a temporary assignment to our community services department. And eventually that turned permanent, so I served as the director for 2 years before I became the deputy city manager.
What is your favorite part about working for a city government?
There's so many things, and first and foremost, my favorite part about Victorville are our employees. I think we have an excellent team. I love working with them every day. But in a more general sense, I would say I like that we have a more direct impact on the community. We're able to respond quickly to address any local issues. I have a couple of examples that I'd like to share with you. The first is our wellness center and our animal care and adoption center. And it's easy to forget that those didn't start where they are today. We actually had to respond to a community need much sooner. So we had an interim wellness center and we had an interim animal shelter. And our staff were able to respond very quickly and get those up and running in time to meet the community need.
What would you say is your least favorite part of working for city government?
Well, one of the big challenges is that a lot of people don't know a lot about the city and how we work and how we're funded. So one of the things that I really like that the city has done is taking the opportunity to explain how the city works. And this podcast is a good example, but we also have our Victorville 101 bus tour that we just recently completed. And at our events like our concert in the park or our fall festival, we have all of our city departments out there. You can come by, you can have a conversation with an employee. What do you do for the city? Ask that burning question. And if they don't know the answer, they can usually connect you to somebody at the event who can help you.
One of the big reasons that you're here is because you oversee the finance department. We did just pass our new fiscal year budget for 25-26. Can you tell us the process of how we go about creating our budget and then how we go about getting it approved?
The budget is one of our most important policy documents for the city, and it is a very big lift for the entire city. It is led by the finance department, but every department and division has a role to get in there and prepare their estimates, their forecasts, and help us collect all of that information that we need to put into the budget book and make our decisions. It takes about 6 months in total. It starts with our finance department, planning things out, creating the schedule, setting up our softwares and getting the staff trained so they can enter all of the data. And then those departments go ahead and enter their projections for the year. That would include any capital project requests that they may have and how those connect to our strategic plan, as well as any personnel requests that they may have for the coming year. Once the finance department has all of those projections in the system, they summarize it and we start having individual meetings with the departments. And we literally go line by line to review the budget. So we get in there, we review all of those details and make sure the requests make sense for us. We're also looking at cash flows that help us look into the future and make sure whatever we do include is sustainable. From there, the finance department and our human resources department have to put together some overall summaries for the executive team to review. And that's where we have to make some hard decisions decisions. We can't approve every capital project and every personnel request, but we do go ahead and review those and include what we can and what makes sense for the city. And it culminates in a presentation to the council in the form of a workshop. So this year that happened on May 22nd. Our city manager gave a wonderful overview of the budget, very detailed. If you ever have a spare hour and you want to go ahead and listen to that, it's really good information to have. And then we collect any feedback and questions from the council. From there, we take it forward for final adoption, which usually occurs around June. And you would think that's it. But the budget is actually a living document. It's something that once it's approved, we have to, look back at those estimates that we put together. We have to monitor them. And as conditions change, we have to then take items back to the council for consideration and approval to modify our budget. So we do have a formal process that we do for a mid-year review, but you may also see one-off items that have to go back to the council.
So when the leadership is evaluating the budget requests and they're making those hard decisions about what to keep in the budget, maybe what to take out, what are you considering?
Well, first and foremost, we have to consider if we can afford it. So we are reviewing the cash flows to make sure that the money is there, not just for the current fiscal year, but for the fiscal years to come, because the costs will continue to escalate. But we're also thinking about the strategic plan approved by the council and how does the request tie back to that strategic plan? Is it helping us accomplish one of those goals? If it is, then it is something that we should consider. But if it's not, maybe it's something that we pass on.
Thinking about this year's budget, what are some neat projects or exciting projects that our community can look forward to?
So when it comes to projects, I think one thing I want to point out is that they don't always happen in one fiscal year. So we do tend to see larger capital projects, those that are more impactful, roll over from one to the other. So with that being said, I think one of the exciting things in this year's budget is a continuation of the road rehab that we're doing on Mojave Drive. And that's various segments spanning all the way from Highway 395 to the I-15 freeway. And it may be completely reconstructing one part of the road or expanding it, or simply reconditioning it, repairing it where we can to extend the life of the pavement in other segments. So huge investment there. And then there's one that's near and dear to my heart, which is our new city library. As you know, we were fortunate to receive a $9 million grant from the California State Libraries Building Forward. It has been underway for several months now. It is scheduled to be complete at the end of the calendar year, so it should open at the beginning of next calendar year. And if you drive down Green Tree Boulevard right now, if you can see that circular area at the back, that's about 5,000 square feet that we're adding for our children's library, which will be a huge improvement. And this year we have some items in the budget that weren't part of that grant. So we have to purchase the technology and the books and everything that's going to go into it. We call it furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So you'll see that coming to life. And that's something the community will actually be able to touch and feel and see come to life right before their eyes.
Were there any major changes to this year's budget?
Not a lot of major changes this year. We did add 3 funds. So we now have a total of 87 funds that the city oversees. The new funds, one of them was for the Wellness Center. It was just a means to consolidate all of the different types of funding that come through to support that operation. And the other 2 were new funds established for our citywide community facilities district that was created earlier this year. That's for special taxes that'll apply to new development. And one of them is for supporting the cost of public safety. One of them is for supporting the cost of maintaining the infrastructure as a result of new development.
When we say it's based on new development, is that incurred by the developer themselves, or how does that work?
No, it's not incurred by the developer themselves. In this case, it will be incurred by the property owner. So if you have a housing tract that's being built, those individual property owners, once they get their first property tax bill, it will have those tax assessments on it. So another change that we have in this year's budget is the net addition of 17 positions. We're fortunate, a lot of what we do is supported by people. So we have to take a hard look at that every year and assess our needs. Not only adding the positions, but changing our salary and our benefits to make sure that we remain competitive and that we can attract and retain that quality talent that we need to provide service to the community. So we have a 3% COLA that was included this year, and we have some benefit enhancements as well. And the final final change to our budget for this year, we did have a couple of minor reorganizations within the city. That included shifting our traffic maintenance division from engineering to public works and shifting the housing and homeless solutions function from our planning department to the city manager's office of economic development. The way that you would notice that is in our budget book and our materials, it would just reorganize the way that those expenses are represented.
In addition to watching the city manager's budget workshop online, which is in our on our website, they could also find our budget and they could actually go line by line and look through our budget.
Oh yes, it's all online and they can review every last detail.
Can you describe the city's fiscal position?
So we're in a healthy fiscal position. A good indication of that is how our general fund and Measure P reserves are performing. We have a 17% minimum reserve target and we are far exceeding that. However, when the city manager gave the budget workshop presentation, he did give a 5-year projection that showed that we are deficit spending. So in order to stay in a healthy fiscal position, we're going to have to be pretty diligent about working hard to bring in more revenue and to cut costs where we can. So some of the things that we have planned for this fiscal year to work on that are updating our cost allocation plan. That's something that a lot of people don't know about, but it's the way that we spread the cost of our general services across all of those funds I was talking about. We're also going to have to continue to be diligent about keeping up with our rate studies and our fee studies and taking those forward to the council for approval and keeping pace, because as we're seeing, the costs are escalating and in some cases it's faster than the revenues are coming in.
So one of the really important parts of the whole budgeting process is the city council. I mean, this is one of the biggest things that they would consider during the year, is setting the budget priorities for how our revenue can be spent at the city. Can you describe for us our governance structure and the city council's role?
So in Victorville, we have 5 city council members who are elected by district, and then each year they decide amongst themselves who is going to be the mayor and the mayor pro tem. We have a council manager form of government, so that means that we have the city council to set the policy and make those decisions for us, and then we have a city manager who runs the day-to-day administration of the city. And they have a tough decision. They are making these policy decisions, but they are really relying on staff, so it is important that we put together a quality product for them and that we can explain it well. And our city manager did a phenomenal job at the budget workshop this year explaining the budget to them.
Jenele, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight. The budget is such a complex thing, and I'm really, really glad we have some really talented, smart people that are in charge of this really important function for our city. And I just want to say kudos to you and the entire finance team for all the hard work that goes in. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me, and I really appreciate those kind words.
Our city budget can't go into effect until it's first been approved by our city council. This is a great time for us to get to know our council members a little more. Let's start by interviewing our mayor, Liz Becerra. Liz, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure to be here.
How long have you lived in Victorville?
Well, now I'm going to give up my age, 60 years. We can trace back my family roots back to the 1920s. So I know for sure they were here because of the census. So we've lived here. My mother was born here and everything, and then my family on my mom's side, born and raised, and never wanted to leave, never had any inkling to want to leave. So I love the desert.
Well, with your experience here, there must be some hidden gems that you really love.
A restaurant I like to eat at would be called California Classics. It's over here, right here on Armagosa, next to the police department. Hometown cooking and everything. Since they changed the new rules on Palmdale Road, I like that one too, because those are my 2 favorite places to go eat.
So in an alternate universe, where instead of being an elected official, you worked for the city of Victorville, which department would you like to work for?
Let me see. The alternate universe already happened. I worked for Public Works for 34 years and I loved it. I loved my job, the people I worked with. I loved serving the citizens. That's where I got used to service, I think. That's what I was used to. So when I ran for council and I won the first time in 2020, it was like, wow, I'm going to continue, but at a different level. And I love being able to serve the citizens as a council member because I can make a different change. Before it was just a roadway, but now with the citizens, I can make a different change as a council member.
What of all of our strategic goals, which one are you most passionate about?
My favorite strategic goal is community connections. Hopefully we can do a sports complex. We have parks and all of them are full with kids, football, softball, baseball, soccer, and I think a sports complex downtown would just top it off of what we can give the kids here. Our sports complex can be centrally located, people to be able to go down there and eat, have lunch and everything like that, watch the kids play, maybe do a food truck venue one of the days that they're down there. So I think it would be real good for the downtown.
We just recently passed our budget.
Yes.
So what project is in there that excites you?
The new police department. I know we're not looking at breaking ground this year, but getting it ready, getting it started. To me, it's like if you started saving for a new home. You know what that money is there for. You know what it's going to bring you. You know what it could do. And that's the way I'm looking at it. We're saving money for a new home, and that's going to be the police department's new home. I think if we watch our dollars like we've done a good job at doing and put our money away, I think we can do a good savings account for our new home. And that's the way I look at it, as a new home savings.
To have such a huge project plan is really wonderful.
Exactly, and I think it would be good for the whole desert because they're looking at a new police department plus a civic center. So you guys and your concerts in the parks and things that you do throughout the year for the public, centrally located now. The Civic Center can also serve the community in a big way from what we've seen in pre-plans. So I'm excited about that.
So Liz, which district do you represent?
District 3. It would be everything from Mojave to Armagosa to Luna, and it's a whole swath of an area to Elevado, comes down that little area to Armagosa Village, and then it swings back up and jump over the freeway, everything in the Avalon area and the downtown area, all the way up to Verde, and then up 7th Street on the north side.
And how many years have you been on the council?
I won November 2020, and the start of 2025 is my 5th year on council, my first year of serving District 3, because we were an at-large when I won. Now we're in district, so it's my first year of serving just District 3.
What's your favorite project that's been completed while you've been on council?
The Brian Gangler interchange. I know it wasn't called that to begin with, but now it is the Brian Gangler interchange. We watched that start from desert all the way to completion, and it's a good east-west corridor for our neighbor to the east and everything, and I feel it's done what it needed to do, alleviate traffic, because we have a lot of people now moving to the desert, and that's all of our cities, so it's that one.
For people who don't know, that started as the Green Tree Bridge.
Yes, it started as the Green Tree Bridge 25 years ago. So 25 years ago, Brian started working on it and figured out where we needed to move it to, how to engineer it, how to get over one of the most heavily traveled BNSF railroad tracks under it, and he was able to bring it to us. So that's one of my favorites.
Well, Liz, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and share a little bit about yourself and help us get to know you better.
Thank you. And always, if any of the citizens need to get a hold of me, our email is in the City of Victorville website. Shoot me an email, whatever you need.
The next council member we're going to get to know is our Mayor Pro Tem, Bob Harriman. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. How long have you been a resident of Victorville?
A long time. So I moved to Victorville in 1981, and me and my wife got married in '89 and bought our house, and we're still in that house today.
What's your favorite hidden gem?
The airport. It's a hidden gem because so many people in our city don't know about the airport, and that just kind of blows my mind. I understand it's up in that north corner, but yeah, a lot of people don't even know that airport is there, and it's growing, and it's a gem. The airport is kind of a special gem to me because when I was younger, I used to go on the base twice a week and deliver beer. And that brought a lot of smiley faces when I was there delivering beer.
Yeah, so it's funny, you got to see the airport when it was George Air Force Base, and now the city, after the government closed down the airport, or the base, then the city turned it into the Southern California Logistics Airport.
It was such a hit to our community because there were over 5,000 civilian jobs at the airport. So it really put us back. But I'm very proud how Victorville has managed the base and brought industry there, and it excites me.
We like to say it's the economic engine of the high desert, brings a lot of boost to our economy with all the aviation, aerospace, but also the manufacturing and industrial.
Over 90% of the airport is leased out, so the airport is operating full speed ahead, and I'm very proud of that.
In an alternate universe, where instead of being an elected official, you were able to work for the city of Victorville, what department would you like to work for and why?
Well, there's several things I like, and one of them I can tell you I wouldn't do is the city manager. That's quite the job. But I think I would want to be a deputy city manager, and to get specific, I would want Tony's job because he oversees the fire department, parks and recreation, and economic development. And those three are actually, I'm passionate about those.
That's, quite a diverse grouping.
Yeah, so my son's a fireman, and I always wanted to be one. Parks and recreation, I was very much involved in, president of Victorville Little League, coaching national junior basketball, coaching Pop Warner football, and then being appointed to the community advisory committee. So I've always been it's always been an important thing to me. And then I love making deals. So economic development, I think I would be very good at.
What district do you represent, and how long have you been on the council?
I'm in District 4, and I've only been on the council since 2022. District 4 is La Mesa to the north, 7th Avenue to the east, Bear Valley Road to the south, and the power lines between Amethyst and Highway 395. So Sunset Ridge Park is actually in my district, the Dunia Plaza, the mall. So my district is the retail machine of the high desert.
Which of our strategic goals are you most passionate about?
The strategic goal that I'm passionate about is public safety. A lot of police stations in other cities, they've had their police stations for years. Ours is going to be new, and it's going to have the most advanced technologies, drones, shot spotter, you name it. So we will be state of the art, and as well as that, you have the community park that's going to be next to it, so it should be really good.
Which project that's been completed while you've been on the council did you like the most?
The Wellness Center. I got to do a lot with the Wellness Center because when we first started putting it together, I was actually on the Planning Commission. I think anybody in any city would be proud of that project. It's been quite successful.
It's been such an important part of our strategic initiative to reduce homelessness in our community.
And it has. Unhoused homelessness is down 57% in the city of Victorville.
Which future project are you most excited to see happen?
I'm looking forward to the library finishing up. It's going to be a real attribute to the community and the kids. I think I'll be really proud of that.
It'll be so neat to see that come to fruition. Like you said, it'll be double the size of our previous library, and there's a whole section there that's been will be added for children's library.
It's going to be the way you should build a library today instead of having a library that's 30, 40 years old.
Bob, thank you so much for joining us and taking some time to help us get to know you better.
Well, thanks for having me. I have all the time in the world now that I'm retired, and I have no problem giving it all to my city.
Be sure to tune in next month to meet more of our council members.
Thanks for listening. What's the TVV is produced by the City of Victorville. If you have a topic you would like to see on future episodes, leave a comment or review on your preferred platform.